Hello everybody, Hellcrex here, and welcome to another Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 262. Today we're going to be talking about the Edgar Light Hover Tank, 25 tons. It's an 1117, little light vehicle, gets around pretty quickly, has a fusion engine, so it has 10 heat sinks, which helps out with while it's loaded out. Has 104 points of armor, which is 6.5 tons. And it has a medium laser and two SRM2s with a ton of ammo in the turret. So if you got a fusion reactor, why not put on some medium lasers or something of that nature? So yeah, it's got a little bit of bite to it. Gets around. It's at 1117. The only problem is I don't really necessarily agree that it should be an 1117. Just drop it down to a 10. 17 or 10, 15. Yeah, you don't necessarily need that full amount, because if you're going flank speed and you want that 10 movement to get that 4 mod, even if you're going 17, you don't get any more bonus for going 17, other than you can get a clear across the map really quickly. Now, this is one of those vehicles that works really good in the middle to late game. It's got that medium laser and two SRMs. I wouldn't be opposed, if you're running a lance of these, to have half of them run with infernal missiles for those SRMs, and then the other half doing damage. You got the medium lasers that go with it, so that's not bad. It doesn't have more range than your typical 9, but let's just put it this way, you have a threat range of 26. Yeah. So it can fly 17 down the map, and then has that medium laser, and SRMs can shoot out to 9. So that gives you a nice 26 threat range on the first turn. But you don't necessarily want to be, unless you find a target that's out there by the lonesome, and this lance can go after them. You don't necessarily want to get stuck in with these things early in the game, because they'll die pretty quickly, especially if you're facing off against a large force with a lot of firepower. They may not hit very well. They may get 1 or 2 hits out of them, but if all it takes is one good hit from a heavy weapon, and next thing you know, you're having problems. So they can take some good hits. One of these, they can take a AC-20 and a PPC on the front slope because they got the armor for it. But why risk it? Definitely, if you get hit in the flank with these things and being hovercraft, your chance of motive hits goes up. So you don't necessarily want to do that. So later in the game, when things are beat up and they got holes in them, these little vehicles will start to shine. You don't necessarily want them in the early game. They're good in the later game when things are beat up. All right. Now, there are a few variants. Now, speaking of variants, I wouldn't be opposed to dropping the SRM2s in favor of a LRM system, like an LRM5, for maybe if you want to go on long-range harassment where you can get in behind somebody. Now, LRM5s are not a lot of damage. Get that. That's typically you're doing 3, but a lance of these guys can start harassing targets on the, it's like I said, your threat range. If you got an LRM5 on board, your threat range is, you're talking 30 something on 38 on the first turn. All right. That's not bad. Not bad at all. So you put them into the full harassment style vehicle, they will start to shine. Don't get them stuck in. Now, variants. There are a few variants of this little vehicle. And 2793, there was the Flamer version, which replaces the 2 SRM2s and the ammo in favor of 2 vehicle Flamers. So, direct replacement. So, yeah, it's like there are 1.5 tons for the vehicle Flamers, and they, 20, I think it's 20 shots you get out of a vehicle Flamer. So, I don't necessarily like the version too much, because you can do pretty much the same thing with infernal missiles. So if you want to do defoliate infantry and vehicles. I'd rather go with Infernals over the Flamers. Now, that's just my thought process there. But it comes in around the same battle value, around 450. All right, then there is the machine gun version. This one replaces the 2 SRM2s in favor of 4 machine guns and a ton of ammo. Well, your damage output is the same, but you're losing range. So if you have the SRM2s, you can do more damage with, say, if you want to throw infernal missiles on board, but they're nothing to be sneezed at with 4 machine guns going after infantry. So if you got like infantry that are in woods or in the open or something like that, even light buildings, 4 machine guns hammering away can do a good job, taking out your infantry that you're facing off against. So especially like rifle infantry or laser infantry, you can do a good job of cleaning them out. So the other thing is damage output. Yeah, you're looking at, let's say, going in, hitting a mech in the rear. You can fly in behind them, hit them in the rear. Even vehicles with the 4 machine guns. Yeah, you can do some good damage that way. So, there. Okay, then we have the tag version, came out by 3053. This has a tag and a beagle probe in place of your SRMs. And then you have 2 medium lasers and a -1 ton of, half ton of armor, which is been taken up by the beagle probe. So, but you have ferrofibrous armor, and it comes a little bit more battle value comparatively. But the nice thing is you have a tag, so if you can light somebody up with that, and then you have missiles and stuff, artillery work pretty good. We used in one of these games, I think it was last fall or a year before, I can't remember, this version where the beagle probes would go out finding all the, it's 2 years ago, we find the infantry out there, and then we'd light them up with the tag, and then artillery came in and hammered the infantry targets. So it works, but you got to look at it as, well, the other thing is it has 2 medium lasers, so that is a good thing. So it does have a little bit of teeth to it, but we were running the lance of them were just scattered throughout the table, so they were just like individually doing their work. So yeah, you look at it that way. The 2 medium lasers is not a lot of damage from a vehicle, but it's enough to make them wonder. Now if you combine them together, it's like a lance of these guys. Yeah, you got some teeth, but you're not necessarily running them to fight. You're looking for stuff to have your follow-on forces take care of for you. Then we have the internal combustion engine version, which drops the fusion reactor, slows it down. This came out in 2853 when everything was like, succession wars were beating on each other and trying to beat themselves into the Dark Ages. So you reduce the speed on it and also some armor in favor of keeping the weapon systems the same. So obviously with the reduction there of your speed and adding the weight of the internal combustion engine, it's a cheaper version of it, so you don't have to worry about fusion reactors. Makes sense why they did it, because it's like, hey, we want to keep the vehicles in operation, but we have to rip out the fusion engine for using them in other vehicles, because a mech is more important with a fusion reactor than a vehicle with one. So I totally get why they did it. And then we have in 3053 the Karita version. Drops the 2 SRM2s and gives you 2 more medium lasers and a small laser. So that's your 10 heat right there. So it carries 3 medium lasers and a small laser for your 10 heat. But it also carries a C3 slave, and it has 6 tons of ferrofibrous armor. So a little bit less armor, but you're using more because you're getting a little bit more because obviously the ferrofibrous kicks it back up a bit. Now, this is one of those, you're not going to be running them as a lance. They're going to be as part of a different lance, let's say mechs or something of that nature. This is your eyes and ears. And they're using the speed that comes with these little vehicles to get in close and use a C3 slave system, so your follow-on forces in the lance with their heavier weapons will hammer the target up using your shorter range of the vehicle. And then obviously if you're getting in close, the medium lasers will do some damage. Small lasers, like, you know, if I ever get close enough I might use it, but 3 medium lasers, that's some good damage dished out. But by the time the 3053 comes around, you got some decent weapon systems, ER weapons, and a prevalence of a lot more better pilots with gunnery. So these little vehicles have a tendency, which I've experienced, they go pretty quick. You're lucky sometimes if they lasted a couple turns, because individuals like to get them in close. Like I said, this is like a medium to long range style in game terms, but too many individuals like to toss them in right on turn 1 or turn 2, and when you got fresh mechs and stuff, and they just get obliterated. And then there's kind of another variant here, the fuel cell variant, which uses a fuel cell instead of a fusion engine, and it carries a light rifle and twin machine guns, and they figured out this was kind of a marginal to non-effective vehicle, so they discontinued it. It was kind of like a little blip on the side saying, hey, they did this. But overall, the most expensive version of all these, they're coming in around 700 battle value, is the creator version with the C3 system. But sometimes having a vehicle like this is worthwhile. Do not get it stuck in early in the game. Leave it to the middle part of the game where you can basically look at it and go, all right, first couple turns, kind of feeling things out, running down the flank or something. And then it's like, oh, on the back here, we got a artillery or let's say an LRM mech. Where if you find yourself a mech that's in the backfield that doesn't have a lot of close range support systems for weapons, and it's all LRMs, let's say a longbow along that nature, these things will go in and do a drive-by on it and say, hey, I'm sorry, but we're just going to hammer away at you, and what are you going to do about it? So think about it that way. And then later in the game, when things are tore up, then dive these things in and start doing good work without having to worry too much about losing them. Because you get them in too early, they die. All right, there you go. Give something else to shoot at for a while. All right, so that is the J. Edgar Light Hover Tank. Not bad. Does the job. Kind of like him. But not early in the game. Leave them for in the middle and late game. There you go. That's my advice. Hope you guys like it. Like and subscribe. Share with your friends. And we will see you again. Hellcrags out.